And we are back live at it again with another Johnny Torch live broadcast. Here we are, high atop the stately Torch Tower, looking over the fair metropolis below. And we are here on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnny Torch Live. We've got quite a number of things to discuss. And apologies in advance for not doing quite as many of these live broadcasts as I have in the past. I don't think there's quite as many topics at this point in the year. There really isn't, because there's nothing going on really that is noteworthy until like the Comic-Con season and stuff like that. So once again, if I'm only doing one video a week instead of the usual 2 or 3, just bear with me. I got stuff going on. I'm working very diligently on Bullets Bourbon issue 6. As I was stating in my Twitter comments a few days ago, some problems happening with the printing. I got to print the large pages and get them scanned into the laptop so that I can color them. That was providing a bit of a challenge to me because it wasn't scanning in properly. But I have a lot of work to do now in the coloring phase of Bullets Bourbon number 6. We're going to close out the When the Night Comes saga, which is the 3-part story arc we're on now, the team up between Carrot Top, Pencil Neck, and Sour Note, which is a lot of fun, and you should check it out. You can check out my link in the description below for my Twitter page to keep up with all the Bullets Bulletins, as I call them. And to check out the latest issue, we've got a free preview up. We always have a free preview of 3 pages in the most latest issue, this issue being issue number 6, 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, and 1 Miller, which of course is titled after the song 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, and 1 beer, made popular by George Thorogood. But in this case, it's the team up of Bullets Bourbon and his arch rival, not an enemy, mind you, but a rival, Detective Scotch, and of course, Desiree Miller. So check that out whenever you have the chance. Of course, the link is in the description below, so you can do it at any time. But hopefully, you'll stick around here, because you're a smart person, I can tell, because you've clicked on this video to begin with. You're a smart person. And hopefully you get enough smart people to make this worth my while to do every week. Because getting 1 or 2 views, I don't know, I think we lost a subscriber, which is, I don't know, pretty record it really spins my head. That's a record. We had a new subscriber for about a week, and yeah, I guess they changed their mind. But hey, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, do everything you can to make Johnny Torch Live broadcast a rousing success. All right, so if you don't know what it's all about here in the Johnny Torch Live program, we are going to talk about the most recent news in the comic book field, in the pop culture, so to speak, genre, where we have a lot of stuff going on both in movies and in television for the most part. Comics themselves are pretty much in a sad state, so we don't really talk about that quite so much. I try to get only the most uplifting, so to speak, stories. We also have like news breaking today about Bill Maher running his mouth again. No, I'm not going to cover that because Bill Maher doesn't deserve my attention. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to talk about the stuff that interests me, the stuff that's hopefully interesting to you and exciting. Now, we'll start off with this story. This was a bit of an exciting story when we heard that Lex Luthor would finally join the Supergirl cast for at least an episode. And they cast John Cryer, Lenny, Lenny Luthor, which really did a number on a lot of people's morale. I think a lot of people were disappointed. I wasn't, I wanted to be convinced. I'm not really thinking that it's the worst casting ever, but it just depends on how John Cryer is going to take to this character. How is he going to play it? You know, it's ironic. Yesterday, when I was in the dollar store, I'm not going to cast any aspersions on the success of John Cryer, but his autobiography was there, and I was thumbing through it, and of course, the only thing that was noteworthy to me was his role as Lenny Luthor before he was upgraded to Lex Luthor, and his thoughts on, joining Superman 4. And from his account, he was very excited. He was a big fan of Superman when he was a kid, seeing Superman the movie, as it originally was shown in theaters. And he was hoping that this was going to be another blockbuster, Superman 4, which unfortunately went down as, you know, probably one of the worst superhero films. I personally got a soft spot for it. I can't come out and say I hate Superman 4. As long as you get Christopher Reeve there and, the cast of the original movies, Gene Hackman, Jackie Cooper, the Margot Kidder, the whole run. It isn't terrible, but it is kind of sad to see how he was sort of deflated at the after the onset of being so excited for the first few days of working on that film, to see that it was basically made without a budget, and costs were being cut, special effects were not being made, and action scenes were being omitted, all because they ran out of money and didn't, because it was Canon Studios. They didn't have the budget to do justice to a Superman movie. And of course, Christopher Reeve started backpedaling, according to John Cryer, because he was the one that came up with the story for that film. And he also talked about Gene Hackman being, a very cordial, actor to be playing opposite, although he kind of intimated that Hackman also was just tuned out after the first couple of weeks. He was just playing it for fun and really didn't expect it to become anything. Anyhow, we're kind of digressing there, but as I said, that was an interesting thing to come across. If you're in your local Dollar Tree or something, maybe you can find John Cryer's auto bio. Okay, so this is the image of John Cryer as Lex Luthor, as he will be in Supergirl. Chances are he'll probably not get out of jail. I think this is just meant to be sort of a one-off. I mean, they might bring him back for like some kind of big crossover or something, but it would really be great if they could use him, in his full capacity. A lot of people, of course, have pipe dreams that maybe we're going to get a Superman TV series, and that maybe this will be a spin-off and we'll save Luthor for the Superman spin-off. Chances of that happening, I think, are getting increasingly low as time continues to march on here for the CW verse, or the DC verse, or the Arrowverse, whatever you want to say. I'm not one of these gloom, doom and gloom minded, pontificators that are thinking that the shows are on their way out. Honestly, if Supernatural can run, what is it on now, 57 seasons? If Arrow doesn't make it to 57 seasons, then it's because Stephen Amell just wanted to quit. I mean, come on, let's face it. I think most of these shows are going to go the distance. I think even Legends of Tomorrow, which a lot of people were saying is kind of in danger of being on the chopping block, I think they're going to be safe. You've got a lot of people watching these shows for that channel. I mean, of course, this is not burning up, records for, broadcast networks, but for a station like CW, these shows have performed very well. Okay, so let's get a little bit to the meat and potatoes here. This is going to be the March 17th episode, titled "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?", where Lex reaches out to Lena from his imprisonment to embroil her in one of his sinister plans. Considering Lex has always hated Superman, in part for his alien nature, presumably it's going to have some parallels to the story of hatred and xenophobia Supergirl has been tackling all season. So yeah, kind of what I expected. They're going to go the old route of Lex Luthor hates aliens, and that's why he hates Superman, because he's some kind of a right-wing, alt-right bigot that just can't leave Superman alone. I hated it when they did that, like, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. They started doing that take on Superman and Luthor's relationship. It wasn't just that it was sort of originally intended to be brain versus brawn. Of course, that's not to say that Superman didn't have intellect, but the idea was that the most powerful man in the planet, or in the galaxy, or in the entire universe could be, challenged by somebody who was a complete mortal, who used only his brains and his genius to, even the odds, so to speak. And that's something that they kind of took away from the Lex Luthor Superman rivalry when they turned it into basically, Luthor's a xenophobe. Luthor's a bigot. He just doesn't like Superman because he's an alien and has greater powers than a human. That doesn't work for me. And I have a feeling that that's what they're going to play up in this show. And of course, if you know anything about my stance on the Supergirl series, Supergirl, Please Punch a Big Robot. That's a campaign that I've been running since the middle of last year before the season started because I knew they were going this way. I knew they were going this way. They have not found a superhero plot that they couldn't somehow distort into some kind of SJW cause. They also have got, Dreamer, the first transgender superhero that they're showing in this season. They've got the Trump America with aliens being illegal immigrants and this whole thing. That's why I applauded Gotham. You can say each one about Gotham. It's really a disposable show. I don't think too many people are going to go sitting back in the history books of television superhero media and thinking, oh, Gotham was a landmark series. But at least in this case, they haven't used the no man's land slash border city storyline that they're working on this year as grist for the NPC mill. They're pretty much playing it straight. They're pretty much just treating it like it's, a comic book heightened reality type situation. And they're playing it like that. And that's the problem. We need to get away from the politics. We need to have these shows and movies be entertainment. We don't want to be preached to, and we certainly don't want to be reminded of the daily news when we're looking for entertainment. So again, I don't know. As far as the picture is concerned, I am a little concerned that he's got a beard, which I don't really get. I guess maybe because he's in solitary confinement or maximum security, as it says there. Maybe it's understandable they wouldn't let him play with sharp objects and shave his beard. But apart from that, he looks pretty good. And like I said, I think if Cryer chooses to, he can play this part pretty well. I mean, I don't really imagine he's going to go the um no, not Zuckerberg, what's his name, Eisenberg, getting them confused. I don't think he's going to go the Eisenberg route and try to make him some, zany ding 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 ding. If he goes ding 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 ding, then we know that we're all in trouble. But I'm pretty sure that he's going to try to play this, especially knowing the Supergirl writers to be fans of the Donna Reeves films. I'm pretty sure that's how he got the job in the first place, Cryer. That they're such fans of the Donna Reeves movies, they're going to try to pattern him somewhat after, probably Gene Hackman, if not maybe the actor's name's on the tip of my tongue, but the guy that played in the Lois and Clark Superman. I think they're going to go with that type of approach. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below about John Cryer as Lex Luthor, soon to be revealed on March 17th on Supergirl. They got an interesting thing going on Supergirl as well, where let's what's her name? Alex has got amnesia now again, playing up the Superman 2 memory loss thing from Lois Lane. I thought that was pretty clever. So, let's just hope that we can make it through this season of Supergirl. And honestly, I'm glad that I didn't have to do this season of uh, This Week in Comic Book Television, because I don't know how I'd get through it, especially with so many shows. But the shows, the quality of the shows, they have dipped. They have dipped. I got to do like a season finale wrap up where I talk about the whole seasons as a whole. But I couldn't do it week to week again this year. That was just too much for the quality that the shows were. All right, we'll move on. Let me know what you think in the comments below there. We've got, let's see, another show that is making its way back this season is Krypton. And Krypton is kind of another show that's we're doing the whole prequel type thing again, and they spun it off differently. They've got General Zod involved, and now this season they're going to have Lobo involved. And good heavens, does he look homely? That looks like Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper's child. That's how crazy and messed up that looks. But that, in fact, is Emmett J. Scanlon, who is going to play Lobo in season 2 of Krypton, which, again, Krypton is sort of a time travel story. So I don't know exactly how this is going to work out. He's somehow, because Lobo isn't known for his genius, so I don't know how he's going to make his way back to Krypton before it was destroyed. But of course, then we also have the, man, what's his name? Adam Strange, doing his thing back in regular time, or our continuity, our timeline. So maybe he might find his way there from there. I don't know. It's interesting. If you remember Emmett J. Scanlon, of course, he had a small part in Guardians of the Galaxy. He also played in Constantine as the Spectre, which I'm really disappointed that they never paid that off. I hope that if they bring Constantine back on Legends of Tomorrow next season, I really hope that they pay off that Spectre storyline. Because I like Scanlon. He's a good actor. And they had a potential to really spin him off into, a full-fledged superhero at that point. He really wasn't, he was just given the origin, where the Spectre, he's like, comes back as a ghost and sort of works in the lives of others and stuff. It's interesting. It's an interesting character. It's one of those weird, macabre DC characters of like the 70s, I think. Pretty interesting. Of course, I liked Scanlon. My favorite role that Scanlon played was as Paul the Apostle in the AD series that they had a couple of years ago, which again, that disappoints me too. All his potential roles have been cut off because they gave us the origin of the Apostle Paul and his meeting Jesus, and they don't finish up with that story in the next season and show us the progression of his ministry, which was pretty disappointing to me. But even if they could have wrapped it up with like maybe a movie or something, would have been great, because he did a great job, and he's, like I said, a pretty good actor. Let's see. He is to be Lobo. Is to be introduced as the big bad for season 2 of the sci-fi series, described as a ruthless bounty hunter who murdered his entire species. Now, the guy's legit when he murdered his entire species. That's telling you something right there. Lobo is described as a genius-level intellect when it comes to matters of warfare and is a deadly adversary. He has superhuman strength and is virtually immortal. Lobo's word is the only thing he holds sacred, although he'll never violate the letter of an agreement. He might disregard its spirit from time to time. I'm not too familiar with Lobo. I just remember him from the Superman animated series, where they had a couple of real good episodes with him in it. I think there was a 2-parter, at least I remember. The Main Man. And yeah, he's sort of like a Harley Davidson and space riding, bounty hunter. It's interesting. I remember hearing not too long ago too that Jason Momoa wanted to have Lobo in Aquaman too. I don't know how. I didn't read that report, so I don't know how serious he was being. But my first thought was, what, as Momoa playing both parts, because he was rumored to be up for Lobo, a couple of times when they were trying to get a Lobo movie off the ground, which, I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm that interested in the Lobo movie, but to each his own. We'll see. All right, so we'll keep our eyes open for that. Let's see what's next here. We have, let's see, a little news on the Wonder Woman movie. Now, the Wonder Woman movie, the Wonder Woman sequel, has wrapped filming. And this, of course, is Wonder Woman 1984, which, I don't know, that's kind of a cryptic. We all know Orwell's 1984, I suppose, if you're of a certain age anyway. Maybe you're too young to have gotten into that book yet. But, the sort of the situation that we're living through in this day and age, where Orwell sort of predicted kind of where we are. But let's see, Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman, confirmed that she's already plotting another solo adventure for Wonder Woman once the sequel hits theaters. She's quoted as saying, "I have pretty clear plans for Wonder Woman 3. Whether I direct it or not, I see how her arc should end in my incarnation of Wonder Woman. I have great passion for that." So, obviously this is going to be a big film. The first one was really big, and I have no reason to believe that this one's going to be any worse. I mean, they're doing pretty good by bringing in Cheetah, bringing back Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. So this is shaping up to look pretty good from what we've heard. And she has a plan. I mean, Patty Jenkins is a fan of Wonder Woman. That's what the comforting thing is when you have a director that actually and a writer, of course, that actually loves the character and loves the property. You've got to feel confident with that. So also in the news we have Chris Pine, who recently, as we talked about last time, backed out of Star Trek 4 as George Kirk. No, as Captain Kirk. Excuse me. Now, Chris Hemsworth backed out as George Kirk. Yeah, as Captain James T. Kirk. Chris Pine. All the Chris's they're dancing in my brain, and I must have gotten one of them mixed up. But he addressed the future of Steve Trevor in the Wonder Woman franchise, which is interesting because it seems like he's walking away from all these franchises, which is something that usually a young actor really wants, is to have a franchise that'll sort of build them up and to give them some better position to, make other films that are the, artsy films that are their choice to make now that they've, had fun in the action adventure genre. Now they can, pick and choose what they want. Entertainment Tonight quoted Chris Pine as saying, "I think Steve's done. I think Steve's done his bit. I wish them all the luck in the world." So it kind of sounds like he knows something we don't know, where either Steve Trevor is going to go back to the past and meet his fate that he seemed to have died in the past, or they're going to maybe have him die in that film. I suppose some kind of time travel shenanigans is going to have to bring him back to some point, either in the past or in the future, because I doubt they're going to have a 35-year older Steve Trevor in Wonder Woman 3, which would, I guess, be set in modern times. I don't know. Patty Jenkins, for her part, was a bit more coy, replying to the same question with the classic line, "We'll see." Uh, she also was quoted as saying, Chris and I will be working together plenty more one way or the other." So again, I don't know. What does this mean? Does this mean Chris Pine is kind of done? He's backing out of the Wonder Woman franchise, or is it just that his part has been played and there's nothing else they can do with him? I don't know. I find that kind of hard to believe. I would like to see Steve Trevor continue to be a big part in the Wonder Woman franchise. That's why I had my doubts about if they're going to bring the original Steve Trevor back. If they do the Linda Carter thing and they say this is the, whatever, the long lost son, nephew, cousin, or whatever, that is just a dead ringer for the original Steve Trevor, that would be fine. But, uh-huh, uh, I don't know what we're going to do here without a Steve Trevor. I mean, as I've said in my Wonder Woman television show review, which check that video out if you haven't already, because it's a big hit. It's one of my last big hits because unfortunately I haven't been able to make any more of those videos that people actually watch. But the Wonder Woman character, her love life is synonymous with Steve Trevor. I don't really want to see her paired up with anyone else. And chances are you're going to have the cray craze want her to be lesbian. Let's just stick with Steve Trevor. Let's just keep a comic created character as her, semi love interest. She, even on the television show, Steve Trevor was less a love interest than more a comrade. So they don't really have to play it up that he's this big, love interest. But I think Steve Trevor belongs with Wonder Woman. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If Wonder Woman was to have a love interest, who do you think should be said love interest? Okay, so we move on now. Let's see. We've got just a little bit of news here about the Doctor Strange sequel, which I'm looking forward to. I really liked that first Doctor Strange movie, and I really love this character as played by Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he's done such a great job that he stole the show in Infinity War. As far as I'm concerned, I think he stole the show in Infinity War out of all the characters. All right, Scott Derrickson is back to helm the sequel, even though he on Twitter is suffering Trump derangement syndrome of the First Order. But, he did a good job with the first film. You know, I don't put politics ahead of people doing a good job. So I'm not going to say that he should be removed from the role, of course, for his really inflammatory comments. His really inflammatory comments regarding conservatives and Christians supporting Trump, President Trump, need I remind you. Don't want to get too political right here, but I think that really put my estimation of him down quite a few notches, because it really is pretty sad, the kind of language he was using. Okay, so we got Scott Derrickson back. That hashtag show confirmed that screenwriter C. Robert Cargill will also be returning to help him pen the script. Benedict Cumberbatch will reprise the role of the Sorcerer Supreme, and he'll be joined by Benedict Wong as fellow Wizard Wong, which, we've seen him in Infinity War, so obviously he's still in the Sanctum Sanctorum, Benedict Wong, or just Wong if you prefer. Rachel McAdams is also, quote-unquote, likely to return as Strange's love interest, who didn't get a lot to do in the first film. I really liked that love interest story there. We're talking about love interests. I really want to see more of her, Rachel McAdams, as Christine Palmer, I think her name is. But yeah, the night nurse number 2. But working on the night nurse. No. So yeah, I thought they could have done more with that. But like I said at the time, I don't think they didn't, they're being patient. They didn't overplay their hand with that, which was a good thing. There was too much stuff going on, too many pieces on the board to give Rachel McAdams a big part. And so I think what I'd like to see in this film is her to get a bigger part and to sort of get that love interest thing going there. Get it going again. We still don't know if Chiwetel Ejiofor will be back, but Cargill has previously suggested that Baron Mordo does have a part to play in the story, which is expected to feature Nightmare as the main villain. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Doctor Strange and the lore. Nightmare sounds like a pretty cool character. I don't know. But see, the fun thing about Doctor Strange is you could do anything. You could literally do anything and go anywhere, and it's going to work because he's the Sorcerer Supreme. Dimensions have no meaning, and magic is the watchword. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think, no matter which way you look at it. I imagine Baron Mordo will be back. They left the tag at the end. It'll be the biggest disappointment since the leader being built up in in the Incredible Hulk and never going back to it, if they ever just don't go back to Baron Mordo. Although I was disappointed with the way he was treated in that film. I kind of thought they could have done more with that character. But I don't know. We'll see how they could redeem it. You never know. Let's see. Production on Doctor Strange 2 is expected to get underway by spring of 2020. Well, we got like a year now before they even start production. That's sad. With an eye for a May 2021 release. So, yeah, I'm really excited about this. Very excited about it. And yeah, let me know what you think about Doctor Strange 2. Electric Boogaloo. That joke never gets old, does it? I don't think so. All right, we've got some more interesting news coming out about Morbius, the movie. Morbius, soon to be a major motion picture. Variety is reporting that primetime Emmy nominee Matt Smith has entered final negotiations with Sony Pictures to join their upcoming Spider-Man universe spinoff, Morbius, which will star Academy Award winner Jared Leto in the title role as Dr. Michael Morbius. So I've got to admit, they're getting some big names. Matt Smith's a big name, Jared Leto's a big name. And I like that they're trying. I feel like Sony's trying. And Venom sort of gave them the shot in the arm they needed, that to give them confidence to say, well, this ain't such a crazy idea. Maybe we can make it work. Maybe. I have less confidence, though, that a Morbius movie is going to be successful than a Venom movie, because you've got the name recognition with Venom. Venom was very big in the 80s and early 90s, the late 80s, early 90s, the symbiote story. So you're going to have Venom fans. I don't know anybody that is a huge Morbius fan. I mean, I'm talking about to the extent where they want to see him in a solo movie. I mean, Venom, you can get somebody to see a Venom solo movie. Same way you can get someone to see Joker in a solo Joker movie. It's not too difficult because the name recognition is there. He's a big enough character, big enough villain. When it comes to Morbius, though, I feel like they're just going to try to cut and paste the lessons learned in Venom and do the same thing. And I'm not really interested in watching Venom again with different characters. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. That's the take I'm getting from this. I think that if they can play it up and make it original, see, like Matt Smith here, I think he's going to play the Reese Evans role. Is that how you say his name? Reese Evans? He's going to be playing that role. He's going to be like some kind of, you know, blankety blank blank, head up his blankety blank blank scientist that's going to give Michael Morbius a tough time. And, you know, Michael Morbius is going to end up getting cursed and wanting to take revenge and kind of having a struggle with the darker nature. It just feels like they're going to remake the same movie again. I hope they don't. Um, I'm I'm gonna try to be optimistic about it. I'm kind of interested in it. I don't know if it's gonna really fly though. I really don't. Of course, we don't really know who Matt Smith is playing. It says here details on his role are being kept under wraps for now, but the report does describe it as a major, so there is a possibility he could be playing the primary antagonist. Although it might be a while before fans get any sort of confirmation from the studio. In addition to Leto and Smith, Adria Arjona will also star in a key role. Daniel Espinosa is helming the project with a script from Lost in Space creators Matt Sazma and Burke Sharpless. Avi Arad, Matt Tolick, and Lucas Foster are producing the film with Palak Patel overseeing for Sony. So this is kind of interesting because I think you had a lot of value in Tom Hardy being Eddie Brock. I don't know how much Jared Leto is going to be a draw because Tom Hardy was a big draw. I don't know if you can get that same draw from a Jared Leto, but we'll see. Okay, so we've got more information here about some of these upcoming movies, starting with Morbius. Morbius, let's see, the Spider-Man spinoff will open in theaters worldwide on July 31st, 2020. So, yeah, that won't be too long away, I suppose. We've got some more, let's see, dates that have been released here. The surprise Ghostbusters sequel, which has four-time Academy Award nominee Jason Reitman directing, will open a little earlier on July 10th, 2020. So they're getting a jump on the July date. So that's they're serious about this. They're serious about this Ghostbusters movie. They're getting that one out there, and they're getting it out in prime summer viewing. No cast or plot details have been revealed, but it'll be a direct continuation of Ghostbusters 2, which will follow a younger generation of Ghostbusting heroes. Reitman co-wrote the script with Gil Keenan, and production will begin this summer. The July 10th date had previously been reserved for an untitled Marvel Sony film, now revealed to be Morbius, but it seems they wisely decided to push it back in order to take advantage of the relatively dry August box office. A month that proved to be extremely lucrative to another Leto-starred Suicide Squad, and also played a key part in the success of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. As for Tom Hardy's Venom sequel, there's no official release date just yet, but Deadline believes the October 2nd, 2020 date Sony had previously reserved for a Marvel film has indeed been booked for the eagerly awaited follow-up. The first film grossed over $885.8 million worldwide on a modest $100 million production budget. Wow, that's cheap. They made that one on the cheap. It's understandable the studio wants it to take advantage of the fall release window. So there you have it. Those are the prime dates for the upcoming slate of 2020 superhero films, which sounds like it's shaping up to be a big year, I think, next year. Big year. All right. As I sip a little H2O, let's get into the the story of the night here. We've got a couple stories of the night. We've got some buzz going on, about the Dark Phoenix movie. This picture was just released just recently here, and it shows Magneto looking like he's in dire straits here. He's in a wheelchair. If you see the full image, he's in a wheelchair with his arms bandaged, and looks like he's in rough shape. We've got a couple other X-Men here. It's an interesting, it's an interesting the way it looks like they've divvied up these heroes. I think they're doing an us versus them. Half of them are going to be against Jean, wanting to just destroy her if need be. The other half are going to try to save her at all costs, which is interesting because it looks like, if that is indeed the case, we've got Professor X, we know was on board with saving her. We've got Cyclops, we know was on board with saving her. But if the other side is comprised of, it looks like Nightcrawler is going to be on Magneto's side. It looks like Beast is going to be on Magneto's side. That doesn't really sound that great. I don't know about that. I think by proxy, it looks like this would mean Mystique is on Jean's side, Charles' side, or whatever, that's trying to save Jean. I would reverse the roles. I would have Beast on the other side, and I would have Mystique on this side. Nightcrawler, I don't know. I love Nightcrawler. Why would he be, the religious guy that he is, why would he want to kill Jean and sort of like at all costs type maneuvering? I don't know. Storm is a wild card. I could see her probably taking both sides because she was the same way in The Last Stand, where they sort of portrayed her as, you got to do what needs to be done. If Jean needs to go, Jean needs to go. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it's great that we got an image here. And there's been a lot of talk. Oh, man, a lot of talk that this movie is going to be the worst thing that ever happened. It's going to be Catwoman level bad. It's going to be Fan4stick level bad. I don't believe it. I think what's going to be, it's probably going to be Last Stand meets Apocalypse. I think they're going to do a story that's pretty reminiscent of The Last Stand, and they're going to probably do it with the, with the budget, so to speak, of Apocalypse, which was a lot more flash and zing and all that stuff. In this case, they're going to hope that the special effects will sort of counter the sort of redoing the Last Stand story. Let's see the cast here. Who are those other two characters? I'm trying to read it. Let's see. We have Michael Fassbender's Magneto, the Beast Hank McCoy as Nicholas Hoult, Storm played by Alexandra Shipp, Nightcrawler Cody Smith-McPhee. All right, here's ones. Red Lotus by Andrew Stillen, and Selene Kota Eberhardt. I'm not sure about those characters. I don't know who they are, Red Lotus and Selene. Selene sounds familiar. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking of somebody else. But it's an interesting character dichotomy or whatever you want to call it here, that they separated those characters that look like, one side versus the other. I don't think this is going to be the worst movie of all time. I don't think this is going to be terrible. I've heard reports from so many people that supposedly has seen it, and they're saying it's awful. They're saying it's terrible. They're saying it's unreleasable, and that Fox basically just wants to release it so that they can recoup some of their money. I think they got, from what I think what I remember reading was they got $2 million invested in this or something on a budget of a couple of $1 million, that they'd like to see it back. I don't know. I don't know what will happen here. Your guess is as good as mine, but could it really be that bad? Could it really be as bad as all that? I mean, I did see one guy online on Twitter, and a lot of people are sort of mocking him because he's the one person that said he's seen the movie and thinks it's fantastic. I don't know. I think this is going to be probably underwhelming as Last Stand and Apocalypse were. But again, the X-Men movies have honestly, you know, hit better than they've struck out. You know, the first movie with Bryan Singer, who's making the news again. I'm not even going to bother going into that, but he's yeah, not for good reasons. Let's put it that way. But he put together a great X-Men original movie on what was, a small budget, what was considered, nobody thought much about it, that it was going to do very much, and he did a great movie. Then he did X2, which was an even better movie, probably one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. First Class was good. I wasn't blown away by it like a lot of people were, but it was a solid entry. Um, Days of Future Past, again, I think this is one of the all-time great movies of the comic genre. So you got to remember, a lot of these, films, they have done well. They didn't strike out. Last Stand I thought was good. I liked Last Stand. I don't think it was phenomenal like the other films, but you had Kelsey Grammer's Beast. You had Hugh Jackman really carried that film on his back. They did some things that I thought were pretty risky or adventurous by killing off several characters, of course, only to bring them back. But that's Wrath of Khan for you. You can kill off, you can have the emotional story, but you got to bring the characters back. So you can't really fault them. And Apocalypse, like I've always said, it was largely forgettable. I don't think I had problems with Apocalypse, like it was this insult to my intelligence or anything, but it was largely forgettable. I felt like I'd seen it before. They pretty much took the story beats of Days of Future Past, and they sort of inserted the Apocalypse and some of these other Storm, the new team, this that. They tried to insert them into slots that would sort of open up the world for the next trilogy. I guess what they were thinking would be a trilogy. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Dark Phoenix opens in theaters finally, once and for all, for good or bad, for our perusal and approval, June 7th. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping they're going to get another trailer out, but I've pretty much liked what I've seen so far of it. I'm not going to lie. I'm excited about this film, and if you watched last week's show, you'll see this was my number 2 most anticipated movie of the year. I'm really looking forward to it and hoping that it'll be good. Of course, Avengers Endgame is going to be the number 1, but this has really got my attention. It's got my interest, and my interest is piqued. I really want to see what happens. I love, like I said, the cast. James McAvoy is such an underrated actor. I think people are like, waking up to it, but he's such a great actor. I really don't want to see them lose him as Charles Xavier. And the young cast is great too. Sophie Turner is great. And Michael Fassbender, of course, I think they do have to kind of cool it on how far they can push him into each story. It's kind of the same thing they've done with Superman, where Lex Luthor is pushed into almost every story. I think, to the detriment of the X-Men, Magneto has to have a big part. But again, Fassbender's so damn great that you kind of feel like, oh, okay, something bad's happening to Eric again. Now he's mad again. Now he's coming back and wanting revenge. It's like we can't do that too many more times, but darned if he isn't compelling when he does it. All right, so I don't think it's going to be that bad. To answer the thumbnail question, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Now let's talk about Black Panther as we wrap up the show. Was it really that good? That's the other part of the question, because, of course, as everyone knows, Black Panther got the Oscar nom. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to win, mind you. Everybody's sort of like really excited that it's been nominated. We really don't know that it's going to win. I don't even know what it's up against, to be totally honest with you, which I probably should have looked at that. But I think the bloom is off the rose now, to the point where a lot of people are starting to, come out and say, look, it's not the best superhero movie. It's not one of the best superhero movies. It's basically a solid movie, a solid superhero movie that does justice by its character, its main protagonist. It does justice to its world. It's comic book oriented, its comic book roots. It's very influenced by. But the story is basically just that, an origin story that we've seen a lot of times, that that is treated faithfully. That's what makes it so good. But I don't see where really we would put this over several other films. Infinity War itself was better than this film, and I wasn't a big fan of Infinity War, to be totally honest with you. I don't think either of these films are Oscar worthy. I think in Infinity War, I think that Zoe Saldana should get a actress nomination because I thought she did a great job as Gamora, which is a character that I'm not really that crazy about. I think they've made Gamora very boring in those movies for some reason. I don't know why. It's sort of like we can't have her too gung ho and like tomboyish, but then again, we can't make her too soft and sentimental without making it seem like she's not Gamora-ish. I don't know. I've always felt Zoe Saldana was a bad choice for that character, but at the same time, she gave a great performance in Infinity War. So whatever misgivings I had about the first two Guardians films, she really earned her place in Infinity War. Anyway, not to digress. I kind of feel like this, and I think a lot of people are saying that this has been chosen as a nomination because of its cultural significance more than because of the actual movie, the content of the story. Um, there's basically, a lot of people want to say, well, this isn't the first black centric superhero film because we've had Blade and we've had Steel and we've had Meteor Man and Hancock. There's a lot of them that came out before Black Panther. But you have to remember also, like I've always said, those movies were either A, not good, or B, quite frankly, not good, or B, they were not for kids. And some of them that were good and not for kids, you got to remember that they weren't Marvel or DC. You know what I mean? They were Spawn. Some ones that maybe you would like to put in the same category weren't really from the big studios, the big publishing houses. So that's something. That's really something of an accomplishment, I think. I think it's going to be a lot of people are afraid that is um, Captain Marvel is going to be the first big SJW fest and this and that. But I think Captain Marvel is going to be pretty much made on the template of Black Panther. They're going to just treat the protagonist with the due respect that it deserves. They're going to give us a solid origin story that is going to, show us the entire universe of that character. And they're going to give us a few rah rah moments for the intended demographic. Like, in other words, with Black Panther, it was, oh, this is, the greatest technological civilization of all time. And of course, it's created by black people. Same thing with Killmonger got his share of fans with, Killmonger was right, which was a hashtag, I think, for a while because he's basically, I can't understand how people would get behind that, but he's basically tried to start a race war to destroy white people and pretty much any other race off the face of the map. But see, then you're probably going to get the same thing with Captain Marvel. You're going to get the rah rah moments, the she don't need no man moment, the men don't know what they're doing moment. The same way we had like the dopey Everett Ross scenes where it's like the dopey white guy don't know what to do. Oh, yeah, he came through at the end. It's going to be something like that. They're sort of pandering to their demographic, which I think is wrong. I don't think you should do that, but that's what I'm looking towards with Captain Marvel, and that's kind of what we had with Black Panther. I don't think like I said, I think they treated its character, its main protagonist here with a lot of respect, and so that's why I think it's a good movie. But I don't see anything beyond what other MCU movies have done for their protagonist, not named Spider-Man. I had to go there, but yeah, Spider-Man is not treated with any respect at Marvel, at MCU, at any rate. But they've done right by pretty much all their characters. So again, let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about this nomination? Do you think it is a worthy nomination? Do you think that maybe Infinity War should have got the nod? Do you think another film further in the past should have got it for the first superhero nomination. I mean, a lot of people were fans of The Dark Knight, The Winter Soldier. Two films that I like a lot, but I probably still wouldn't nominate them. I mean, for me, if you were going to nominate a film as one of the best, would probably be like Avengers. Now, there's no social commentary at all, but it's a good adventure movie. It's a good, exciting story, and that's not what the Oscars are about, though. So I wouldn't know what to give them for a nomination, I suppose. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And speaking of comments, we have a little something that I like to call Mailbag. We got our mailbag out for the first time in several months because I finally got enough comments to read a mailbag segment. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got here. All right, this is an old comment 5 months ago, but I never really gave it a proper reading. Green Lion Guardian. Green Lion Guardian, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. He or she left a comment on the Johnny Torch Live number 97 video, which was our, oh geez, here we go, the She-Ra reboot, which was really one of my most popular videos. A really popular video. And of course, She-Ra is now coming back with a second season. Dear Lord, be merciful. Okay, Green Lion Guardian said, according to the creators, she is 19. It's woke She-Ra. So yeah, this is, in answer to my comment that She-Ra looks like a 13-year-old boy in this cartoon. Apparently, she's dressed like a 13-year-old boy. She's got boyish features. I don't know. Like I said, you just go watch that video, and you'll have a good long laugh at just how terrible this animated show looks, at just how terrible they insult our intelligence with this kind of stuff, this SJW nonsense that they're forcing onto the shows and all the properties. The SJWs won't be satisfied until they've ruined every single one of our childhood icons and traditions. Like Star Wars was ruined, comics for the most part are ruined, the CW shows are ruined for the most part, and now they've ruined She-Ra. So it's just it's just disheartening. But we just gotta, we just gotta hold our heads up and try to get through this, and hopefully someday it'll come back out the other side. That's the only thing I can hope for. Man, it's disappointing. All right, on my Aquaman review, Johnny Torch Live number 131, not too long ago, the Greek Geek movie reviews 2 weeks ago came in with this comment. I was just excited to see sharks with frickin' laser beams on their heads. I can't, I can't dispute that. That was very exciting. I want to thank the Greek Geek for the comment and for watching the video. And I will check out that channel, and I will hopefully swap subs with you, because if you're still watching, just let me know. Anybody that wants to swap subs with me, obviously, unless you have a YouTube channel that is, completely the antithesis of my views and worldview and lifestyle, I'll be happy to swap subs with you. So just leave me a comment in one of my videos, and I'm sure I'll find it. Okay, 5 days ago, Brian Smith on my Wonder Woman TV show review, the review retrospective, which I said was very popular. Just check that out. Brian Smith said they stopped getting along, so he was reduced. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought as well. I don't really know the background story of that. That's the reason why I didn't want to put it in. At the time, I probably should have made a comment about it. But at the time, I really didn't want to take sides and say what the problem was. I have a feeling that Linda Carter wasn't too thrilled with having a co-star. I think it was because the show was called Wonder Woman, and she was like, "Why do I got to split the time with the show with, Steve Trevor? Why can't it all just be about the adventures of Wonder Woman?" And that kind of, she don't need no man. That's pretty much what Wonder Woman's all about. So I probably think that Linda Carter was to blame. I think I read an old TV Guide article after the fact, which said that I don't know. According to Lyle Wagner's wife, Linda Carter had thrown temper tantrums and basically thrown her hairbrush across the room or something at the producers and insisted that she get more screen time and less of it be with Lyle Wagner. I don't know why. I don't think either of them have ever commented. I think on some of the DVD commentaries or something, I think Linda Carter said that she regrets not getting to know Lyle Wagner better. And I think Lyle Wagner, in one of the old reviews that I read, one of the old interviews that I read, said something along the lines of he was sort of like the highest paid extra because he still got paid co-star money, but he was not given anything to do. And it was frustrating to him, but he just sort of, took the paycheck and grinned and bared it. He just, held up under it and was like, hey, as long as I'm getting paid, I guess this is the way it's got to be. So again, thank you, Brian Smith, for the comment. And last but not least, we have a very lengthy comment here from Lord Nippick, I believe is how you pronounce that name. And this is from my Johnny Torch Live number 122, where we talked about the Cassian Andor series and the Boba Fett, the possibility Boba Fett would be in the Mandalore, because that show is just coming out. They announced it. Let's see. Lord Nippick says, my idea for a Boba Fett movie. Now, this is a very long post, which I don't want to dissuade anybody from giving me a long post, but I don't think it's fair to me or to him to read this whole post out entirely. You can find it in the comments there, and that would be great, to support him with your thoughts, whether you agree with his take on a Boba Fett movie or not. But I'll try to read a little of it and tell you if I agree or disagree with some of his ideas. It'll begin with Boba Fett inside the Sarlacc pit with the tentacles wrapped around him. It'll be dark and brutal, and the film will be what he is explaining, and after an event finishes, it cuts back to him in the Sarlacc pit, where he then moves on to something else. Now that's an interesting way to bookend it. I kind of like the way that sounds. He's thinking back during this ordeal of trying to get out of the Sarlacc about like his earlier adventures or something like that. That's an interesting move. I could see that. I could see that. He brings up that he had a very high paid job to hunt a Jedi on Tatooine. Then we go back to his past and see what happened. A cloaked man comes out of the shadows and convinces Boba to hunt down a Jedi on Tatooine and bring him back alive. Fans can tell that the figure is Darth Maul. Of course, yeah, Darth Maul. That was interesting. That they were planning to do something with Darth Maul in Solo, a Star Wars story. There's a very intense fight between Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, which is approximately 5 to 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan uses the Force mainly while staying on the ground, no flips, but eventually ignites his lightsaber to deflect Boba's blasters. Let's see. Boba is forced to escape, but knows that Maul will find him and kill him if he does not return, so he returns to explain what happened, but attempts to save his skin by telling Darth Maul the exact location of Kenobi, where Darth Maul goes to fight Kenobi. So, yeah, you're tying that into the Rebels version, I think, of the story of how the Darth Maul ended up resolving his problems with Obi-Wan. That's fine, but I don't like that idea. I don't want to just do that one stupid sword swipe that Obi-Wan does to kill Darth Maul. I mean, even if it's not the greatest lightsaber epic ever known to mankind, I would like to see something decent from that interaction between them after all those years. Let's see. Darth Maul thanks Boba and proceeds to force push him into the wall. And Boba Fett throws a smoke bomb and escapes. All right. 3 more events are shown. Let's see. I'm just trying to read it. Boba Fett always comes out on top with last-minute James Bond-like finales. It cuts back to the Sarlacc pit, where, let's see, he uses his sharp blades on his arm gauntlet to cut through the Sarlacc all the way to the top and collapses in the desert. That sounds cool. The scene cuts to him a while later inside a Jawa droid selling vehicle where he is sat next to a droid where he sees there are Ravengers with blasters who knock Boba out with a sonic blaster. That's cool. He wakes up in a starship in a cell. A deep voice echoes, "Boba Fett, son of Jango." Boba says, "Do you know me? Show yourself." A figure appears with a brown cloak. Boba demands, "Step into the light." The figure says, "I've been further in the light than you can ever imagine." Boba says, "I don't trust a man that makes no sense." The figure says, "I will show you my weapon. You will show me yours, and we agree peace. Does that seem fair?" Boba agrees. The figure reaches for his belt. There is a pause and ignites a purple lightsaber. The entire cave lights up, and the worn out Mace Windu is shown with one hand missing. Well, now that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Because I honestly, I'm not one of those people that want to bring back every character, like every Jedi. I think they should all stay dead. I don't want to be like, oh, there's the long lost I can't think of one, whatever. But you just let some of them lie. That's fine. But if you're gonna bring back Mace Windu, bring back Mace Windu with Boba Fett. That would be cool. Boba immediately has flashbacks to when Mace Windu decapitated his father. The anger swells within him, but Mace tells him to make the right choice. Boba quickly fires his blaster at Windu. Two of the shots deflect off the lightsaber and hit Boba on the shoulder and hip, but the adrenaline keeps him going. The showdown is on. Boba uses the surroundings to his advantage. Mace has zero movement and limps if he does move. Mace uses the Force to prevent huge boulders from crushing him and pushes them aside. Some rocks are forced back on Boba. Eventually, Boba's hit with a huge rock and flies back out of the cave, where he hangs on by his arm blade like Jango in Attack of the Clones. Mace hobbles over to Boba and reaches out his hand. He says he's sorry that his father was killed. Boba accepts his apology and moves his blaster into a certain position. He takes Mace's hand, but suddenly fires his blaster past Mace. It hits a rock just above, and with the Force, the rock is as large as a ship. Windu struggles to keep it airborne. Boba Fett is still holding on to the old and crippled Windu, whilst Windu is keeping the huge rock up with one hand. Boba looks at him and says, "My father's fate shall mirror ours." Boba releases his blade from the edge of the mountain and pulls Mace with him off the top of the mountain. A wide shot of them both falling with sad Star Wars music. It zooms to Mace's lightsaber falling, cuts to Mace Windu with a frown, then he smiles and closes his eyes. They hit the snow below, and it cuts to the lightsaber in the snow. It slowly zooms out to show Boba's body on the right of the lightsaber and Mace's body on the left of the lightsaber. The shot continues to zoom out. The epic Star Wars music cues, and credits roll in. Boom, epic movie. That's me for the night. Yeah, I was pretty much enraptured with that whole last storyline, that last vignette, as it were. I think you got a pretty good story there. Um, I wouldn't really want to kill off Boba Fett that way. I think if Boba Fett is to be brought back, they have to do something constructive with him. They have to use him like in a Han Solo movie or something, which I guess we can't do now because Harrison Ford's done. But we get Alden Ehrenreich maybe in there with a little makeup or something, and we can do another post Jedi, pre Force Awakens Star Wars movie where Boba Fett comes in contact with Han Solo again. To see, the problem is Boba Fett should have been dealt with in the Force Awakens. You know what I mean? This is the kind of stuff. If you had a fan writing those sequel Star Wars films, we would have got stuff like this. We would have got the cool stuff. Instead, we got crap. Basically, we got SJW crap that was basically there just to facilitate, the modern coat of paint. This is Star Wars. This is not your daddy Star Wars. This is Star Wars the way the SJWs want to see it. That's the way I feel. Anyway, but yeah, I'd like to see a battle between Boba Fett and Mace Windu. I would like to see Boba Fett survive that battle. Like you said, the chances of, Mace Windu would probably not get a mechanical hand because he's hiding out from the Empire, who would, kill him instantly on sight. He's probably lucky to walk after being thrown out the window. Even if he didn't fall all the way to his death, he would have landed on something that probably would have impeded his movement. So I like the way you've incorporated that into the story. Boba Fett is, really in character here. He's acting like he would. He didn't take Mace Windu's apology. That's something we were all hoping would happen. We would see a Boba Fett versus Mace Windu battle. But of course, the problem was, Boba Fett was like 13, 14, 15 or something at the point of Revenge of the Sith. So it wasn't going to happen. Anyway, so thank you once again. That was Lord Nippick. Thank you for that comment. Again, if you have any more, fan fiction ideas or whatever, be sure to put them in the comments below. I'll be happy to check them out and read them if it's okay with you. All right. So once again, thank you to everybody that wrote me on Mailbag, our Mailbag segment. If you want to get in contact with me, you could always do it by leaving a comment, giving me a DM. You can check me out on Twitter. You can find that link in the description below. You can check out my website, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Comics, where we're going to get our latest issue out hopefully sometime by the spring. And once again, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you haven't, and please, I've got the chat room open all the time. That if I notice that there's somebody in the someone viewing live, I will check out the chat and see if anybody has commented. It's just that I get very few comments. So we did get a chat room participant last time we did Torch News Roundup. So that was fun. So if you're out there still, welcome back anytime you want. Until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.